Hello, my kako. Pehea mai nei. What a privilege to be here. Hi, everyone.
My name is Kara with a K.
With a K. I don't know who Kara with the K is, but let's just say we're all on, and what a privilege it is to be here. And I just wanted to share a little bit of Meleanna Aluli Meyer Kia, he kikio kia na ʻāina nei. Mahalo me ko hoʻokipa a me ea kahui pu me ke aloha with being aloha ʻāina. To my left on the top screen, actually right below me on the screen is Kahele, beloved Kahele Dukelow. Could you just take a moment, Tita, and just say a few words and say hi to our little audience out there, and we'll just go around, okay?
Okay, aloha nui a kākou apau, velina me ke aloha. O wau ke ia o Kahele Onolani Dukelow, no ka mokupuni o Maui, hanau ia hanai ia kula ia no ma ke ia mokupuni nei, ma nei wau e noho ana me ko ohana. Aloha everybody, my name is Kahele Dukelow. I'm a kupa of the island of Maui, born and raised. And I continue to reside here on Maui, and it's my pleasure to be here today. And I look forward to being able to, wala'au, talk some stories about Maunakea and the importance of what we were doing there and what we've learned from it and what we continue to do. So mahalo nui.
Aloha mai kako, I'm Maunakea here. I'm a diasporic Kanaka Oiwi, born in Los Angeles. I returned to my father's home in Maui about nearly 15 years ago. I'm a PhD student at UH Manoa now, so I'm currently living in Manoa, and I'm really excited to be able to join all of these wonderful folks tonight. And thank you so much, Meleanna, for this beautiful film. It really, really stirs my na'au every time I watch it. So mahalo.
Mahalo ya oi, Tita. Mahalo. Punahele, pehea oi.
Aloha mai kako o wau o Punahele mo makaha mai au o kaala a me lahi ku'u mau mauna o kaya ulu a me pu'u kaala ku'u mau makani. Haze, my name is Punahele from Maka'a, Hawaii. I'm super glad to be here on a panel full of my me'es, my heroes, and yeah, excited to get started and speak about the Mauna.
Woohoo! Okay, Leilani, o'oi.
Aloha mai kako. I'm Leilani, also another diasporic Kanaka Iwi from the Bay or Ohlone territory. Been here for about a decade and also a PhD student working on poetry about being Hawaiian and diasporic. And this is Ka'ala.
Ka'ala. Nice to see you, Ka'ala. I love it. Welcome, Velina mai kako, oko pakahia po. You know, as somebody who's an artist in the community, it's a privilege to be on a panel with a whole bunch of aloha ʻāina. And I think for the audience out there, maybe one of you guys could speak about this notion of being an aloha ʻāina and what that might mean to you, because that's not necessarily clear to people, and yet it's pretty clear to us, right?
I mean, I think maybe we can all chime in a little bit about what aloha ʻāina is. You know, first of all, a lot of us have come to aloha ʻāina through struggle, through education, through learning our language, learning our cultural practices, learning about our history, learning our mo'olelo and all of those things. And what you begin to find out is you see examples of what aloha ʻāina are in our own history, and you begin to take guidance from them. And so for me, when we talk about aloha ʻāina, and we always say, you know, the word aloha, of course, is probably one of the most co-opted words. And this is one way that, you know, we reclaim this, because it really is such an important word for us in so many contexts, especially the context that you saw in this film, which is, when we're talking about aloha ʻāina and the way everybody on this panel has been on Maunakea, right? It is this deep love and aloha for this place, for your people, and it's about action. It's about protecting that. It's about politics. It's about taking care of people. It's about community. It's about family. It's about all of those things. And I think for me, that's something that's really important, that it's not ever one of those things. It is all of those things. And it's the way that many of us choose to live our lives, right? As aloha ʻāina, that means that we are always in that mode of thinking for lāhui. And really that means that, above all else, this is our land. We are connected to it, and we should decide what happens on it. And I think that is what we are constantly challenging every minute of our day as we exist in, the world that we live in today.
I completely agree with Kahele. Aloha ʻāina is everything that she said. And sometimes you love your ʻāina so much that when you meet other people like you across the world, whether it be in Kashmir, Palestine, Turtle Island, West Papua, Aotearoa, you hope for them so much that they would get land back, or ho'i ʻāina. And, they would restore pono in whatever their situation. So, like, whenever I visit people and I see my people, our people inside of them, part of me is like, if Hawaii, we get Hawaii free again, I might go join them. And I pray for them. I wish with all my being that they would experience the joy of land back. And yeah, I just wanted to add that little piece, and I'll pass it off to any one of our other panelists.
Mahea, as you share about aloha ʻāina, please could you also speak to this notion of kapu aloha? Because it's kind of like these, not bookends at all, but there's like this encompassing energy of those two pieces. Because you were up there, maybe you can share a little bit about, your being up there and just a little bit about your experience.
Mahalo. Yeah, so I was up on Maunakea from the initial opening ceremony where we set up the Puʻuhuluhulu, Puʻuhonua on the Saturday, and I stayed there mostly nonstop. I did fly back and forth to teach classes during the semester. So there were a group of us who would fly out every Tuesday morning, teach Tuesday, Thursday, and fly back Thursday night so that we could stay committed. And that's what aloha ʻāina is to me. When you love something so much, you're willing to sacrifice whatever is necessary to protect your ohana, to protect your family. And aloha ʻāina also to me is that relationality. So it's not only love for the land. That's such a surface phrase to gloss it. It's really a deep intimacy with the land. So it's knowing what kind of winds are coming by the clouds. Auntie Kalei Nuʻuhiwa would teach us, oh, there's this wind pattern. We can see the cloud pattern. We know which storm is coming. We learned those kinds of things up there. We knew that every day around 3:30 or 4, Lily Noi mist was going to come rushing across the front of the mountain. And we would just sit there in awe for a good half an hour. And we knew that Kanehoʻolani, when we invoked Kanehoʻolani at the 6 o'clock ceremonies, that the sun was going to change right before us in all these glorious colors. And we knew when we looked at the Puʻuhuluhulu that the ʻāʻaliʻi there, the different pinks and purples were going to shimmer and shine at us. We saw, they tell us stories that at one point Maunakea glistened with silver because there was so much silver sword up there. And it breaks my heart to think that I won't get to see that in my generation. But I fight for the restoration of those plant cesters. Those are our ancestors in a different kinolau, right? So those are all of our ohana that we're there to protect, not just our human, but our non-human. And when we say Mauna Awakea, we have to remember that even though we're invoking the name of Wakea, the Mauna is actually our mama, it's Papa, right? So the Mauna is actually Papa, our mother, our Mama Mauna. And so these are the family, the relations that we're there to hold sacred. And so when we say we're living in kapu aloha, kapu, the sacredness, the restrictions, and the aloha that is so deep that you would protect your child, you would protect your tutu, you would protect your brothers and sisters who, I lived with these folks on and off for 8 months. You know, you're my family, you're my ohana, we built hale together. Kahele is my kumu and my auntie and my dear friend and former boss. Like I love her, and I would throw down for her. I would lay down for her and Kaleikoa. I would lay down for her son Puna and her daughters Ho'o and Wahinehula. You know, those are our ohana, and we've protected multiple mountains together. We protected Haleakala together. And so we came already. And I remember one of the things that Kahele said on Haleakala, which is, even though the telescope got built, we did not lose because we won each other. We built a community. We built pilina that is unbreakable. And when the call comes again, we will stand up for each other for every issue, for the iwi kupuna, for the waters, from Maunakea when they call us to stand with them. And so to stand in kapu aloha means to have self-discipline. It means that your love for the mountain is stronger than your own selfishness, or, you know, the individuality that our neo-colonialism and neo-capitalism says, you know, it's all about me. It's not. It's a collective we. We are Maunakea. And so we're willing to hold a certain discipline out of love for the principles that tie us together.
And, you know, for all of us, I know you share this gratitude, you know, for those of us who don't do hula, for the Kanahele ohana to share, to invite us to do oli and hula and pule up there, and to learn those new things, to be included, you know, was just such a huge gift to all of us. I felt like I haven't before. You know, each island has their own, you know, kuleana action and, you know, tribal action, but that was so open to all of us in the larger community up on the Mauna. And it was something that was so greeted, so delighted, you know, with great delight from everybody who came to give offerings and things. And maybe Mahia, you can actually share a little bit about that notion of we are Maunakea, because believe it or not, we have 20 minutes. So what we're knowing, what we're experiencing now is that we need to have our own conversation and have a channel of materials that we can share, so we can spend the time to talk to each other, because this kind of opportunity is really a gift. So please, if you could, you know, share something about We Are Maunakea that you'd like folks to know. And Punahele, get ready for your sharing of your second piece, okay?
So We Are Maunakea. One of the things that I wanted to bring up today is that our whole lāhui came out and we made spaces for each other. So within Puʻuhuluhulu University, Kahala Johnson and Kalenio Pua Young created the Hale Mahu and then we all helped to create the Hale Wahine. So the Hale Mahu was created for our LGBTQ ohana, and the Hale Wahine for all of the women and girls who were in camp, because we did notice that there's still, within our families, our very extended ohana, there's still gendered and sexuality issues that go on in our lāhui. And so one of the things that was revolutionary was to build those two hale within the pu'u. And I shout out to Leilani and Punahele, who not only helped to erect the tents themselves, Maria Lohalani Brown and other folks helped to sponsor us by donating the first pop-up tents. Punahele ended up doing some concerts and donating funds so we could have electricity University. Leilani literally sat in the tents with me and greeted folks. And we talked about different women's issues in the movement. And we're able to create spaces for voices that are sometimes marginalized or aren't necessarily going to get the headlines. So even though, if we notice, Wahine and Mahu folks, our queer family, were actually in majority of the leadership positions, they're not always seen as such. And so they don't get that kind of notoriety or noticing. And I think one of the revolutionary things is this might be the first movement where we actually had a dedicated space for that. So we're pretty excited about that, to be able to create a space to have those further conversations. And then as far as We Are Maunakea, one of the things that I personally loved, as Kahele mentioned, is really getting to learn from all kinds of different people in different spaces. So learning didn't just happen in the uni. It happened in small conversations that we got to have with the kupuna when they were taking their walks during the day. And, you know, Auntie would go visit her favorite tree and tell us a mo'olelo. There were all kinds of small learning things where I learned so much from the Maunakea healers, and they would tell me, oh, you need to be using this natural la'au that, you know, grows right here in the space. And so there's all kinds of different learning interactions going on. And one of the things that I loved the most was, as Punahele said, getting to know our international relations and meeting those folks from Palestine, meeting folks that came from Standing Rock, meeting Hawaiians that were living abroad in like Russia, you know, so we had all kinds of ohana coming home because they heard this call and they felt like, I need to be part of this. I'm part of that we too. I need to be there. I feel that in my now, I have to go. And they found their way to the mountain. It's really phenomenal if you think about it, because we all have these small stories. In the biography journal, one of the differences between your beautiful film and the biography journal is in your film, we get this mass view of faces and lots of folks all together, and you see the momentum of that. In our Indigenous life writing, we get the small stories. So in the biography journal, you're going to get those individual stories of what it was really like to live for 8 months. So when you read Maria Lohalani Brown's piece, she talks about what it's like to live up there for 8 months through the hurricanes and, you know, through the windstorms. And you hear Kavena's story about how he brought his experiences elsewhere to the mountain. You see Joy Enomoto's what it's like to create art about the Akua Wahine, like Poliahu and Mo'inanea. So you see all these small voices that are all part of that we. And that's what makes us great, right? The more mana, the more variations we have, the more mana of spiritual power that we have, because we're a collective we. In my pronouns, I always put she, we, oya for that reason, because I know that when I write, I'm not writing by myself. I'm writing with the voices of my kupuna and my keiki who come through me. And so my voice is never just mine. I'm never speaking only for me or as me. And so we are Maunakea. And
yeah, as Mahea mentioned, in We Are Maunakea, a lot of us have such diverse backgrounds and stories, and being in Kapua, let me tell you, for a long time is not easy at all. But I felt like I was a baby when I went up there, and my Kapua Aloha kind of blossomed and cocooned like a butterfly. And it made me feel that my Kapua Aloha was just more than sacred mauna, sacred conduct. It kind of made me want to advocate for all the LGBTQ plus people that was standing on the front lines. It made me want to actively challenge anti-Blackness and anti-Micronesian hate. And just because people from all of these backgrounds was there on the front lines with us, my bill support was a Micronesian family, and just seeing all of us come together made me realize that it's more than challenging David Lasner. He sees me all the time and he's scared of me, even though I love him. And yeah, when I was there, I realized that I had to call in a lot of people on our side as protectors. And yeah, I wrote this song about that. Yee. Yeah. They try to erase us and they try to down us. Since they don't listen, they'll see us on the Mauna. They act like we don't matter, but we was here first. They came here on planes and we came from the dirt. They say we never cared, but we always did. Only the unrighteous see silence as consent. Hawaiian place of learning. I do not get it. How can you represent us if you don't respect our wishes? They talk about aloha, but they know nothing about living it. They use free speech to protect white supremacists for expressing our rights. They're trying to give us big fines. We're prepared to risk it all and put our lives on the line. Kapu, aloha, defend the sacred. We are not anti-science, we are anti-desecration. Tell the media to make the corrections. We are protectors, not protesters. And they tried to make us mad when they cut the flag in half. Hawaiians arresting Hawaiians for a check. That is sad. We the evidence, not the crime. Standing here is living proof. If they come in the night, you hear the sound of the poo. There should be no back line at a frontline camp. How maka action like that? No can. If you make my people hurt, you will become my enemy. When you peel out, it destroys your legacy. No retreating, Mother Earth is weeping. If we come together, we will never be defeated. I will not stand by and watch my people suffer till death do us part. I am married to the struggle. I stand for my people. I rise for my people. I put that work in and I grind for my people. Provide for my people. I rise for my people. I live for my people and I die for my people. Rah!
Mahalo over there for that. Mahalo. Where can we hear more of your work, young man?
Just like the Jackson 5. If you call my name, I'll be there.
Okay.
But if
And
not, YouTube, Facebook, like Spotify.
Leilani, how about you with all of this kapu aloha and being there and contributing? What's your take on all of this extraordinary work?
I remember the first night, the sharp air filling my lungs, Po forcing me to trust voices without faces. A calm fear entered my body and I did not sleep. I rose early the next morning, chanting Ealae, greeting the sun, surrounded by ancestors. The consecration took place later that day. A Puʻuhonua was born. That night I felt ill. A headache weighed me down. Chills shook my body. Was this a test before the standoff? Again, Ealae was chanted and ceremony was conducted every hour on the hour, a much needed grounding. Diaspora is a particular type of trauma, a severance that cuts deep, leaving me raw and tender, but Maunakea called to me. And so I stood with the lāhui and bore witness to riot gear and outer island cops, to frontline kupuna and protective mana wahine, to high Hawaii and regular ceremony. It is said that Haumea bore generation upon generation of Oiwi, rebirthing herself to create 400,000 kupuna and mo'opuna. Haumea of Nu'umealani of Kahiki bore children from sacred thighs and brains. Haumea, who is slyly reproductive, bearing children in a multitude of ways. I remember that I am Haumea, who can bear from my sacred thighs, but also from my brains, my mouth, my words, my poetry. I become that which feeds. A seed was planted in my na'au under a rising moon, surrounded by lilinoi, a blessed pua created in ceremony and rooted in the sacred. Ka'ala became the source.
My final thoughts are that we all have a story, and each and every one of them, those behind the scenes stories that Leilani was talking about that made the camp run, those are the stories I want to hear, because that's how we all heal. That's how we all grow together, is in sharing those stories. And that's what helps us create the resilience to keep going and to come back again and to do it over and over in the trenches. So start sharing all your stories with all of us, please.